Eli Carter was used to silence. As an engineer on Station Theta 9, a small outpost near the edge of the Andromeda Coalition, he spent most of his time fixing broken systems, checking energy lines, and watching stars blink in the darkness. He liked peace. No war, no politics, just machines, stars, and the quiet hum of life support. One normal day, while Eli was repairing a satellite scanner, an alert beeped on the main console. A small ship was approaching the station. That wasn't unusual. Traders came by sometimes, but this ship wasn't listed on any registry. It was sleek, glowing with a soft blue light, and carried the royal seal of the Valari Empire. Valari? Eli frowned. What would they want out here? The ship docked smoothly, and as the airlock opened, Eli expected a royal officer or maybe a diplomat. But instead, a young girl stepped out. She looked about 8 years old. Her skin shimmered. Faintly like pearl, her eyes were deep violet, and her voice was clear and gentle. "Are you Eli Carter?" she asked politely. He blinked, surprised. Yes. And you are?" "I am Lyra Avalente, Princess of the Valari Empire." She took a small step forward. "I've come with a request." Eli scratched his head, still unsure what was happening. "A request? From a princess?" She nodded. Then, looking straight into his eyes, she said, "Human, my mother needs a partner, and I want a father. Please marry her and help lead the galaxy." Eli dropped his wrench. After sitting down and giving Lyra a cup of warm tea, Eli tried to understand. "You traveled across the galaxy? To find your mother a husband?" he asked slowly. Lyra nodded, sipping her tea carefully. "Yes. My mother is Queen Avalyn. She rules the Valari. After my father died in a star accident, she has ruled alone for many years. But she is lonely, even if she hides it. And the Council is pressuring her to form an alliance with another species. For peace." Eli raised an eyebrow. "And you picked me?" "You're kind," she said simply. "You helped rescue Valari, workers when their ship crashed last year. You asked for no reward. You fixed their oxygen systems and stayed with them until rescue arrived. I read your reports. I saw the footage." Eli felt his face heat up. That was nothing. Anyone would have done it. But not everyone did. Lyra looked at him seriously. "You don't want power. That's why you're right." He leaned back in his chair. "And your mother? She agrees with this plan?" Lyra hesitated. "Not yet. But she'll see what I see. I believe in you." Eli smiled gently. "Princess, I'm flattered, but I'm just a mechanic. I fix old ships and listen to static all day." "And yet I flew across the stars to find you," Lyra said softly. A few days later, a large royal cruiser arrived at the station. Eli stood straight as Queen Avalyn stepped out, surrounded by guards and nobles. She was tall, calm, and elegant, wearing silver robes that moved like water. Her eyes, like Lyra's, were deep violet, but sharper, older. "I am Queen Avalyn of the Valari," she said, voice smooth but formal. "I understand you have met my daughter." Eli bowed. "Yes, Your Majesty. She's very brave." "She is also very bold," the Queen replied, glancing at Lyra with a small sigh. "She told me what she asked of you. I came to ensure no misunderstanding occurred." Eli nodded. "I understand. It's an honor to meet you, even if I'm not exactly royal material." For a moment, Queen Avalyn looked at him closely, not with anger, not with pride, but curiosity. "You live here alone?" she asked. "I like the quiet," he said. "No politics, no drama, just stars and silence." "Strange," she said softly. "How rare peace has become." They walked together through the station. Eli showed her the observation deck, the energy core, and the greenhouse he built in his free time. He didn't try to impress her. He just answered her questions honestly. She seemed calmer as the hours passed. That evening, over a simple meal, Eli cooked himself. Lyra sat between them, smiling brightly. "You're getting along," she said. Queen Avalyn looked at her daughter with a soft look. "He is kind and clever, but this is not a fairy story, Lyra." "I know," Lyra said, "but sometimes good stories start in small places." Later that night, Queen Avalyn stood alone on the observation deck, looking at the stars. Eli joined her. "I know this is strange," he said. "I don't expect anything. You don't even know me." "But you interest me," the Queen replied. "You didn't try to impress me or fear me. You were simply yourself." Eli shrugged. "It's all I know how to be." "Do you know," she said thoughtfully, "that many great leaders in history were once nobodies? Farmers, mechanics, poets. The galaxy often forgets them, until they rise." "I don't want to rise," Eli said quietly. "But if I can help, I will." Queen Avalyn looked at him again, longer this time. And maybe, just maybe, a very small smile appeared. As the Valari ship prepared to leave, Queen Avalyn turned to Eli. "You may visit Valerian Prime if you wish. There is much we could learn from each other," Eli smiled. "I'd like that." Lyra hugged him tightly. "I knew you'd say yes." He laughed. "I didn't say yes yet." "You will," she whispered. "You just don't know it yet." And, with that, the royal ship lifted off, leaving Eli standing alone again. But this time, silence didn't feel so quiet. The planet was nothing like his quiet outpost. Towering crystal towers reached toward the sky. Soft light flowed through the air from floating orbs. Creatures of different species moved through clean, shining streets, dressed in robes and armor, their voices calm but dignified. Eli wore his cleanest jacket, plain gray with a small patch on the sleeve. A royal officer had offered him fine Valari robes, but he politely refused. He didn't want to pretend. He was just Eli, a simple man with simple ways. And yet here he was, walking into a palace made of silver stone and blue glass, a place where kings and queens made choices that shaped the galaxy. Lyra greeted him at the entrance with a bright smile. "You came!" he chuckled. "You didn't give me much choice, Princess. I told you my mother would invite you." She led him forward through large doors guarded by tall warriors. Inside, the halls were calm and filled with light. The floor was polished like mirrors, and soft music played in the background, like wind chimes in space. Queen Avalyn waited at the far end of the hall, sitting on a throne that looked more like a floating seat of light than a chair. She wore a long, blue robe, her dark hair braided with tiny crystals. Her eyes, sharp and quiet, watched him as he approached. "You arrived sooner than expected," she said. Eli nodded, bowing slightly. "Didn't want to change my mind." The queen tilted her head slightly. "I admire that." She stood up and gestured toward a private garden. "Walk with me." The garden was peaceful. Trees with glowing petals swayed in the breeze. Floating birds chirped softly. A small stream ran through the path. Eli followed her in silence, not sure what to say. "I must be honest," Avalyn said at last. "I did not plan to see you again, but my daughter insisted, and after reviewing your past, I found potential." Eli smiled faintly. "That's better than being a threat, I guess." "You are not a threat. You are an unknown." She glanced at him. "And the unknown makes others nervous, especially leaders." "I'm not trying to lead anything," Eli replied. "I just came to understand." She stopped by a tree with silver leaves. "And what do you understand so far?" Eli looked around, then answered, "That your people value peace, that you lead with logic and calm words, but even in calm places, There's loneliness. The Queen's eyes narrowed slightly. What do you mean? I've seen it before, he said gently. People who carry big responsibilities often carry them alone. They smile in public, but when they're alone, it's heavy. There was a long pause. Then Avalon said quietly, "My daughter sees what I hide. She's young, but her heart is strong." "She loves you," Eli said, "and she wants someone to care for you the way you care for her." "I don't need saving, Mr. Carter." "I didn't come to save you," he said. "I came because your daughter asked me to, and because I believe maybe I can help in my own way." Later that day, Eli was shown around the palace by advisor Selen, a tall, elderly Valari man with wise eyes and a patient voice. "This is the Hall of Minds," Selen explained, showing him a chamber filled with glowing scrolls and floating memory crystals. "All royal knowledge is stored here." Eli admired the clean design. "Your systems are advanced, but I noticed a few of your power hubs are running on outdated cores." Salon raised an eyebrow. "You noticed that already?" "I'm an engineer," Eli smiled. "I see systems like a farmer sees soil." Salon chuckled. "Interesting. Perhaps we could use your advice in a few places." As they walked, they passed members of the Royal Council. One of them, Councillor Theron, a tall man with strict posture and sharp features, stopped and stared at Eli. "So, this is the human?" he asked coldly. Eli offered a polite nod. "Yes, sir. Eli Carter." Theron looked him up and down. "You are no noble. You wear no family seal. You carry no training in diplomacy." "No, sir," Eli said calmly. "I fix things." Theron gave a small frown. "Let us hope you do not break things instead." The air grew tense, but Ceylon gently guided Eli forward. "Ignore him. He is old-fashioned. He does not believe someone like you belongs here." Eli smiled. "He's probably right." Ceylon stopped. "But sometimes change comes from the quietest corners." That evening, a small dinner was held. Not grand, not political. Just a quiet meal in the garden with Queen Avalon, Lyra, and a few trusted advisors. Eli shared stories of life on the outer stations. He told them about the time he accidentally fixed a food dispenser that only made soup for a week. Lyra laughed so hard she almost dropped her cup. Queen Avalon watched him quietly. He wasn't trying to impress. He was just himself. "I see why my daughter likes you," she said. "I think she just wants someone to play chess with," Eli joked. "I'm serious," the Queen replied. "You are honest, and in this world that is rare." Eli met her gaze. "So, does that mean I can stay a bit longer?" The Queen hesitated, then nodded. "You may. There is more to understand." Lyra clapped her hands happily. "This is the beginning! I know it!" Avalon gave her daughter a gentle smile. "Let's not rush the stars." That night, as Eli stood on the palace balcony looking at the glowing city, he felt something he hadn't felt in years. Purpose. He wasn't a hero. He wasn't royalty. But maybe, just maybe, he could make a difference. Not with weapons, not with power, but with kindness, truth, and a heart willing to try. At first, everything had felt too perfect. The clean air, the quiet gardens, the polite people. It was all like a dream. But Eli knew something was wrong. There were too many whispers, too many guards suddenly posted in places they hadn't been before. And the Queen seemed more distant than usual. Even Lyra had picked up on the tension. "Mother is worried," she said one morning, while they sat under a tree reading together. Eli looked up. "Did she tell you?" Lyra shook her head. "She doesn't have to. I can see it in her eyes. Something is happening." Eli nodded slowly. "Then maybe I should find out what." That evening, Eli returned to the control room near the palace tower. It was where data from across the empire came in: ship movement, trade routes, colony reports. As an engineer, he had been given access to help improve the old systems. But now, he used that access for something more. He opened the message logs from the outer colonies. The energy patterns didn't match the usual reports. Something was interfering with the communication systems. He leaned forward, running a few quick diagnostics, and there it was, a hidden signal. It was buried under standard code, but once he found the pattern, it was clear. Someone was sending secret messages through the Empire's system. And those messages were being sent from within the palace. Eli downloaded the signal into a safe drive and quietly walked out. He needed someone he could trust. Advisor Selan listened carefully as Eli shared his findings. This signal. It's been repeating every night, Eli explained, showing him the data. The source is close, inside the city walls. Selan studied the pattern. It is not Valari code. This is foreign, almost machine-like. Eli nodded. That's what I thought. Whoever is sending this doesn't want to be found. Selan looked worried. We must show this to the Queen, Eli agreed. Later that night, in the Queen's private meeting room, Eli and Selan stood before her. Avalyn listened in silence as they explained. You say these messages are coming from inside our city? She asked. Yes, Eli replied. And not just messages. I believe someone is planning to weaken your communication systems, maybe even take control of them. Avalyn turned to Selan. Has the council been informed? Selan shook his head. Not yet. We came to you first. The Queen's eyes narrowed. Good. We don't know who to trust. Eli hesitated, then added, I also believe someone close to you is involved. Avalyn's face showed no expression, but her voice was quiet. Who? I don't know yet, Eli said, but I'll find out. The next day, Counselor Theron arrived at the Queen's chambers. You sent for me, Your Majesty? He asked, bowing. Yes, Counselor, she replied. There have been strange signals in our systems. We are looking into the matter. Theron's expression did not change. Do you suspect sabotage? We are not sure, she answered. Theron glanced at Eli, who stood nearby. And the human is part of this investigation? He has shown skill and honesty, the Queen said firmly. He is helping us. Theron said nothing more, but as he turned to leave, his eyes locked with Eli's for a moment, cold and sharp. Eli watched him go. There was something about Theron that didn't feel right. That night, Eli decided to dig deeper. He followed the signal's path again. This time, it led him to a small chamber beneath the palace library, an old room once used for records. It was supposed to be empty. But when Eli opened the door, he found a strange device glowing faintly on the wall. It wasn't Valari technology. It was something else. He stepped closer, then tapped a small screen on the side. Suddenly, a cold, robotic voice spoke from the device. Zarnek's link confirmed. Phase 1. Complete. Eli froze. Zarnek's. He had heard the name before, a machine-based species. Cold, logical. They believed emotion was weakness. They did not attack with weapons. They used silence, fear, and control. They were supposed to be gone, defeated in past wars. But clearly, they were not. Eli quickly shut down the device and ran back to the Queen. Avalyn listened carefully once again. So the Zarneks are behind the signal, she said, and they are hiding inside my palace. Eli nodded. And I believe Counselor Theron may be helping them. Selan looked shocked. But why would he do that? Eli replied, because he doesn't trust outsiders. He doesn't want peace. He wants control. The Zarneks offered him something. The Queen stood in silence for a moment. Then she said, Bring him to me, quietly. I will ask him myself. Counselor Theron was brought into the private chamber, unaware of the secret device Eli had found. He stood calmly before the Queen. You sent for me again, Your Majesty? Avalyn stepped forward. We found a foreign device in the lower palace. It was transmitting to the Zarnex. Theron's eyes widened slightly. That is a serious claim. I did not make it, Avalon said. The machine did. Eli stepped out of the shadows, holding the memory drive. We recorded it. Theron stayed quiet. Then he said, You would believe this? Outsider over your own counselor? I believe truth, the Queen said simply. Theron's expression hardened. You are weakening the Empire with softness. This human, he doesn't belong here. I belong anywhere I choose to stand, Eli said calmly, especially when someone tries to hurt good people. Theron was taken away. He didn't resist. He only stared back at Eli with quiet hatred. Later, in the garden, Queen Avalon sat beside Eli. You saved us from a quiet attack, she said, without raising a single weapon. Eli smiled gently. Sometimes peace needs protection, too. You were right about one thing, she said. Even in calm places, there is loneliness and shadows. He looked at her. You don't have to face them alone. She met his eyes. For the first time, she didn't look like a queen. She just looked like someone who wanted to be understood. Lyra came running into the garden just then, holding a chessboard. I brought the pieces, she shouted. Tonight we play again, and this time I win. Eli laughed. We'll see about that. As the stars rose over Valerian Prime, the small family sat together, unaware of the many challenges ahead, but ready to face them together. Lyra, the young princess who had brought him into this new world, lay quietly under soft, glowing sheets. Her skin, once full of shimmer, now looked pale. The healers said she had caught a rare space-borne illness that affected only the Valari, people, something their bodies sometimes picked up after traveling near old war zones in space. Eli didn't understand all the science behind it. But he understood one thing: Lyra was sick, and no one knew the cure yet. Queen Avalon stood nearby, her hands folded tightly. She tried to remain calm, but Eli saw her pain in the way her eyes stayed on her daughter's face without blinking. We've called the best doctors, Avalon said. They are on their way. Our own healers are trying everything. But this virus, it's ancient. Our medicine is struggling. Eli looked at her. Is there anything I can do? The Queen shook her head slowly. You've already done enough. But Eli wasn't ready to give up. Not now. Not when the child who brought hope to both their lives was suffering. Eli spent the next few hours in the palace data center searching old records. He didn't trust fancy tools. He trusted logs, facts, forgotten documents. Somewhere, he believed, there had to be a clue. He dug into old medical files, ancient explorations, even human research on cross-species illnesses. He didn't stop to eat or rest. He only stopped to check on Lyra, then came back to work. That's when he found it, a dusty record from a joint human-Valari mission 50 years ago. It spoke about a plant called Solara root, found on a small moon called Eden 5. The plant had once been used to treat a similar illness that affected Valari explorers during early space travel. The entry was short, almost forgotten, but it was something. He rushed to the Queen. Queen Avalon read the report twice. Eden 5 is far. A storm cloud currently covers that region. Our ships can't fly there safely. I can take my old ship, Eli said quickly. It's small and stable. I've flown through worse. The Queen stared at him. You would risk your life for her? I already promised to protect her, he said, and I keep my promises. There was silence for a moment. Then the Queen said softly, Then go, and come back safe. Eli left the palace within the hour. His ship, the Sparrow, was old but reliable. It wasn't fast, but it was strong. As he flew into the deep blackness of space, he thought about Lyra's laughter, her excitement for chess, her innocent dreams. He couldn't let her fade. The storm around Eden 5 was rough. Electric clouds flashed outside the windows, and the ship shook from the pressure. But Eli stayed calm. He guided the Sparrow through carefully, relying on instinct and old tricks. When he finally landed, the world was quiet, green and wild, filled with strange plants and glowing rivers. He scanned for the Solara route. Hours passed as he walked through thick forests. At last, near a crystal-clear stream, he found the plant. Its roots glowed faintly golden, just as described. He collected what he needed and flew back without delay. Back at the palace, time was running out. Lyra's condition had worsened. Her heartbeat was weak, and her breathing slow. Queen Avalyn sat by her side, not speaking, holding her daughter's hand. When Eli entered the medical room holding the plant, everyone stood still. "You found it?" Avalyn whispered, hope lighting her face. "I did," he said, tired but smiling. The healers took the root and quickly prepared the medicine. It was mixed carefully and injected with slow precision. All they could do now was wait. Hours passed. Then Lyra stirred, her fingers moved, and slowly, her eyes opened. "Mother," she whispered. Queen Avalyn dropped to her knees beside the bed, tears in her eyes. "I'm here. I'm right here." Lyra turned her head slightly and smiled weakly at Eli. "You came back." "I told you I would," he said softly. "You won the game," she whispered. "You saved the queen." Eli smiled and blinked back tears. It wasn't about winning. It was about not giving up. Days passed and Lyra grew stronger. The palace was filled with quiet joy. Even the guards, usually still as statues, smiled when they saw her walking again. Eli spent most of his time in the garden with Lyra, helping her rebuild her strength. One evening, Queen Avalyn joined them. She wore no crown, only a soft robe, her hair down over her shoulders. She looked human, tired, but full of peace. "May I sit?" she asked Eli. He nodded. They watched Lyra playing with glowing stones near the pond. "I don't have the right words," Avalyn said quietly. "You saved her. I will never forget it." "You're her mother," Eli said, "and I've seen how much she means to you. That's reason enough for me." "You didn't have to," Avalyn said, "but you did." Eli looked at her. "Because I care. About her. And about you." There was silence between them. But this time, it was not empty. It was full of feeling. Then Avalyn said, "In my world, emotions are often hidden. But today, I want to say something clearly." She turned to face him. "I want you in our lives, not because of politics, not because of old treaties, but because you've shown me what it means to truly care, without asking for anything in return." Eli took her hand gently. "I didn't come here to change your world. I just followed the voice of a little girl who believed something special could happen." "She was right," the queen whispered. That night, the stars above Valerian Prime glowed brighter than ever. Lyra, healthy and full of life again, watched her mother and Eli laugh together from her window. She smiled to herself. "I knew it," she whispered. "This is what a family feels like." And for the first time in many years, she slept without fear. The peace that had settled over Valerian Prime was fragile, like a thin glass floating in space. Eli Carter had just returned from helping Lyra regain her strength, walking through the palace gardens where soft lights hovered above blossoming flowers. The air was calm, but Eli felt a strange tension under the surface, like a storm waiting to break. Queen Avalyn stood nearby, looking out at the stars. "We cannot ignore the signs any longer," she said quietly. Eli turned to her. "What? Signs?" Avalyn's eyes darkened. The Zarnex Collective has returned. Eli's heart sank. The name was whispered in fear across many systems. The Zarnex were a machine-based species without emotion or mercy. They believed the galaxy should be controlled by logic and cold order. In the past, they had tried to conquer many worlds, not with weapons, but by hacking systems, turning friends into enemies, and spreading fear. They were gone, or so everyone thought. But how? Eli asked. I thought they were defeated. Some thought so, Avalon said. But the Zarnex survive in shadows. They have agents, even inside the Valari Empire. Their goal is to break us apart before we can unite with humanity. Eli clenched his fists. We can't let that happen. That evening, a council meeting was held in the palace. The royal chamber was filled with leaders from across the empire and trusted human allies. Eli stood beside Queen Avalon and Lyra, feeling both out of place and important. Counselor Theron, recently returned from exile, sat in the corner, his eyes sharp and cold. The Zarnex are real, Avalon announced. They seek to disrupt our systems, to stop our alliance. Theron rose, voice calm but firm. Then we must prepare to fight. Eli stepped forward. With all respect, fighting is not the only way. The Zarnex are clever. They don't attack with weapons. They attack minds and machines. We need a different approach. Theron frowned. And what do you suggest? We simply wait and hope they go away? No, Eli said. I propose a defense based on peace, decoys, signal jammers, and early warning systems. We confuse them, stop their messages, and protect our people without firing a single shot. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Some leaders nodded, impressed by the idea. Others, like Theron, looked skeptical. Avalon raised her hand. We will try Eli's way first. If it fails, we will reconsider. As plans were made, Eli and the Dao royal team worked day and night. He helped build communication shields that masked signals, set up holographic decoys to confuse enemy sensors, and trained guards to spot signs of sabotage. Lyra watched, fascinated. Do you think we can really stop them without fighting? She asked Eli. He smiled. I believe so. Sometimes the best battle is the one you never have to fight. But Counselor Theron had other plans. He met secretly with shadowy figures in the palace's lower chambers. They grow too strong, he said. The Queen trusts this human more than her own council. The Zarnex must be stopped, no matter the cost. The figures nodded. We will act soon. One night, as Eli worked in the control room, alarms suddenly blared. The palace's power grids flickered. Strange code flooded the screens. Eli rushed to the main console. They're trying to break in. He activated the jammers and decoys immediately. Outside, holographic images flickered and shifted, making the palace look like many places at once. Zarnex drones scanned the area, confused by the signals. Eli breathed deeply. It's working. Suddenly, Counselor Theron appeared on the screen, broadcasting a message to the entire empire. People of the Valari, his voice rang out, cold and commanding. The Queen has been deceived. The human is a spy. He works with the Zarnex to weaken us. The crowd in the royal chamber gasped. Avalon stood tall, voice steady. That is a lie. Eli has saved us more times than I can count. Theron sneered. Then let us test his loyalty. If he truly cares for this empire, he will prove it now. Eli stepped forward. I don't need to prove anything to anyone, but I will protect this empire, with or without your trust. The Zarnex launched their final attempt, a massive cyber attack aimed to shut down the city's life systems. Eli and the team worked desperately. Lights flickered. Air vents hissed, but the decoys held. Signals jammed the attack. In the control room, Eli smiled faintly. We did it. The attack failed. The royal court gathered the next morning. Theron was arrested for treason and betrayal. His followers surrendered quietly. Queen Avalon faced Eli and Lyra, pride in her eyes. "You stood strong when others doubted," she said. Lyra ran to Eli, hugging him tightly. "You saved my home." Eli smiled, tired, but happy. "I only did what anyone should do. For family." The Zarnek's threat was over for now. But a new hope had been born. The queen turned to Eli. "Will you stand with me? Not just as an ally, but as partner, as family?" Eli looked at Lyra, then at Avalon. "I will," Lyra cheered. "Yes! A real family!" As the sun rose over Valerian Prime, the galaxy felt a little brighter. The day was clear and bright on Valerian Prime. Birds with silver feathers flew gently over the palace gardens. Flowers of every color bloomed, their scents soft in the warm air. The entire kingdom seemed to hold its breath in excitement. Today was the day Eli Carter stood quietly by the palace entrance, dressed in simple robes given to him by the queen's attendants. His heart beat fast, not from fear, but from hope. He was about to marry Queen Avalon, not just to become part of the royal family, but because he wanted to. Avalon appeared beside him, radiant and calm. Her long hair sparkled in the sunlight. She smiled at Eli, her eyes soft and warm. "This is not just a ceremony," she said. "It is a promise to our daughter, to our people, and to a future we will build together." Lyra, glowing with joy, held their hands tightly. The great hall was filled with beings from all across the galaxy. Valari nobles, human diplomats, and friends from distant worlds. They had come not to witness a political union, but to celebrate a new beginning. The royal priestess stepped forward and spoke in a calm voice. "Today we unite not only two souls, but two worlds, in peace, in trust, and in hope." Eli and Avalon exchanged simple rings, symbols of their commitment. The crowd erupted in quiet applause. After the ceremony, the palace gardens became alive with laughter and music. Children ran through the paths, playing games from many planets. Lyra led the way, her smile wide and bright. Eli watched her and thought about how far they had come. From a chance meeting on a lonely outpost to this moment of joy. He turned to Avalon. "You know," he said with a smile, "I never imagined I'd be here." "Neither did I," she laughed softly. "But sometimes the galaxy surprises us." Their hands found each other's again. In the weeks that followed, Eli took on new roles, not as a ruler demanding orders, but as a partner who listened and learned. He shared his knowledge of technology and problem-solving. He helped improve communication networks and suggested ways to make life easier for the people. Avalon trusted him, not because he was human, but because he was true. Together, they worked to strengthen the alliance between the Valari Empire and human colonies. Trade routes flourished, ideas were shared, and old fears slowly faded. Lyra was happy. She had the family she dreamed of. One evening, Eli sat with Lyra in the palace library, teaching her how to play chess again. "You're getting better," he said. She grinned. "I want to beat you next time," Eli laughed. "I'll be ready." Avalon watched from the doorway, her heart full. She knew this was more than politics. This was love. A new kind of royalty had been born, not based on blood or power, but on kindness and hope. Years passed. The story of the human who married a queen became legend. Eli never forgot where he came from, but he embraced the new home he helped build. Together, the family led the galaxy toward peace, and when asked about his journey, Eli would smile and say, "I only wanted to help a little girl find her father. Instead, I found a family, and a future worth fighting for." Lyra, now grown, stood before crowds of young students, telling them the story of hope, courage, and unity, and the galaxy listened.